Where's your eyebrows? No eyebrow.
That's a blonde Finnish girl problem. Namaste, my friends. If you're wondering what that background noise there is, and I'm not able to edit it away, that is the first day of the monsoon here in Kerala, and oh my god, this makes me so excited. And this is what's going to be up here for the next couple of months, so let's just get used to it. Today, let's talk about beauty. And don't worry, this is not going to be some kind of like typical beauty vlog where we're just gonna be talking about makeup and sharing all beauty tips and all that. No, today I really want to talk about the like different beauty ideals between the West and India. I actually grew up thinking that Indian women are some of the most beautiful in the world. When I was a teenager, I had a huge girl crush on Aishwarya Rai. But when I was growing up, I never thought of myself as beautiful because I just didn't fit in the Western ideals of what beauty meant. Like I said, there are lots of differences between what is beautiful between different cultures, so let's dive deep into that now. So the biggest difference between Indian and Western beauty ideals must be the color of the skin. Obviously, the one thing that people pay the most attention to in India is my white skin tone. I was ridiculed for my white skin all my years in Finland. And I mean, like, this is the tan version of me because I can be like completely white, like a paper white. And I've been called a ghost in Finland. I've been called like this, there's this Finnish saying that when someone is like really, really pale, they're like the captain of a chalkboard. And I always was so conscious about how white I was in Finland because that was something that everyone would always, like seriously, always, especially in the summers, bring up. And if I wasn't wearing makeup, people would be like, oh, but why are you looking so sick? And I'm like, yeah, because I'm not wearing makeup and I didn't put all that color on my face. But then eventually I learned about the perils of trying to scorch myself in the sun and in those UV boxes. And I just like, especially after coming to India, just like realized that tanning is the most stupid thing ever and I can just like embrace the color of my skin the way it is. In India, nothing is more prestigious than a very, very fair skin. And of course, that must like partially come from the colonial times, but that was something that had a high status even before that because a white skin is seen as someone in a rich, privileged status, whereas those with darker skins are from the lower classes and castes who daily have to work for their money in the outdoors environment, in the fields, and be exposed to the sun all the time. So that is what makes this like big distinction even these days between the fair and dark skin. You have all these different whitening creams like Fair and Lovely, which you can even find at the like most remote rural areas in the smallest shops. Like a 5 rupee pouch of Fair and Lovely will be available just everywhere because that is such an essential item for everyone to purchase. The skin tone is one of the like most important criteria that is announced in the matrimonials, and girls from a very, very young age are taught to walk around with their umbrellas for the sun and then cover their arms and pretty much all of their skin. And you have all these like natural home remedies that mothers pass on to their daughters so that the fairness of the skin remains. But it's like very much enforced by the Indian media landscape, especially in Bollywood and with the celebrities like Kajol, who once upon a time was like absolutely beautiful, dark-skinned Indian woman, but then went through this like absolutely astonishing skin whitening procedure, and apparently is even trying to sell this as something that, oh, she didn't know about sunblocks when she was younger, so now she's just like got back to her natural tone and removed the tan, when it's like clearly obvious for anyone with a brain that you cannot change that many tones just by starting to use a sunblock. And of course, there are so many celebrities like Priyanka Chopra who have like multiple times in the past been promoting the whiteness creams and like being very anti-tan, and have also like had some kind of whitening procedures done to themselves. And of course, for men also, there is like celebrities promoting whiteness like Shah Rukh Khan. And I feel like it's just so sad that it's in one of the most diverse countries in the world, you are also systemically enforcing this idea that only fairness is beautiful, because you're not showcasing that diversity and all those beautiful dark-skinned people in your own media. So it's not, the racism and colorism isn't just something that is coming from the West, but it's also very much enforced here in India. And that's seriously one reason why I don't like following Bollywood and those like big hit movies and celebrities that much, because I feel like it's giving a very, very one-sided image of what India is. So I like these like smaller productions and local productions. Even when I was living in Visakhapatnam, in the Telugu film industry, you would have these like actresses coming from the north, so that you have again these like fair actors instead of the like local people who would be in just like some minor supporting role somewhere. And I'd be like, oh my god, who is that there on the background? That is so good looking. I want to know who that is. But you wouldn't seriously be paying that much attention to those guys in the like bigger Indian picture. I think that our maid is actually super, super cute. And there are so many beautiful friends and family members that I have from all over India, no matter what their skin tone is, that I would just like very much want to see more of that in the celebrity pages and the media and all over where there is Indian representation. Because the funny thing is that even though India is so fixated on the fairness, that is not the case in the West, where we are predominantly white. We value tanning so much. And expose, that is why you would see all those Western tourists in the beaches of Goa just like tanning themselves half naked, because that's what they come here to do. It's like one symbol of your high status and money in the West is that you can afford all these beach vacations and spend your time there tanning, and then come back to your cold country and show that, yep, this tan is what I got on my vacation. And of course, like, because in the like developed nations, we have moved from the predominantly agricultural low wage job system to office jobs. So we actually spend most of our time indoors these days. So for us, the symbol of a higher status is that you can afford to spend your time outdoors and maintaining your well-being and health by being this like outdoorsy person, getting also tan. So can you maybe like see here how ridiculous it is that like in the West, we even like actually use tanning lotions. We go to tanning salons where we get all these like UV treatments. We also very much prefer dark features like dark brows, dark lashes, dark hair. And I actually spent many years of my life with almost a black hair. Can you even imagine that? But as I was always told that I look like my mom, who I always thought was so beautiful when she was a teenager, that's what I always wanted to look like too, because like, wow, those dark features. So when I was a teenager, I dyed my hair almost black. And can you imagine how a person with this white skin looks like with black hair? And blonde brows and blonde eyelashes. Wow, that is quite the contrast, and that is not what is meant with the dark features. So obviously I would have to start also putting on lots of makeup to make up for the fact that I dyed my hair black. So I would have to do something about my brows and make them look like these thick, full brows and obviously dark. So because I didn't want to dye them too, I would use a lot of like brow color and pencil and just like photo here. It would look absolutely terrible and unnatural. How much I had to do for that beauty ideal. And it's actually getting even worse these days because now there are these like new technologies in the West where you even get your brows tattooed to get that bushy brow kind of look that everyone in the West would just envy from the Indian ladies. And then if mascara is not enough, you get this like easy option of having like lash extensions, which even I have tried once, but I felt like, oh my god, this is such a dangerous option because I got a really bad allergic reaction from that. I'm like seriously so embarrassed looking at my older pictures because I feel so much more beautiful these days, even though still I'm not the Western beauty ideal. I'm myself. I'm not doing anything to achieve that ideal, but I just feel so much more pretty. But then here in India, again, it's completely opposite. Like women with their bushy brows go to all these salons to get their brows trimmed and threaded, and you try to get them as like narrow as is possibly good looking. And instead of like embracing that like full hair that might even be like really curly again, which is something that is especially now with the curly girl trend really appreciated in the West. Instead you get all these like hair straightening treatments, and especially in the cities these days you get a lot of these like bleaching and blonding treatments for your hair, whereas I'm like, oh my god, if I had a naturally black hair I would never touch it. And in the West, we use makeup to change the look of our face to that extent that when you wake up in the morning next to your man who has never seen you without your makeup, he will not recognize you. Because especially face contouring is something that can so drastically change the way that you look. You will be like trying to completely change the way that your bone structure looks, accentuate your cheekbones and make your nose look as narrow and small as possible, and then you're trying to get this like sucked cheeks in look, like, and then trying to make the lips look as full and thick as possible with like, because you need the makeup to do that because you can't have a duck face all the time. Growing up in Finland, I was so self-conscious about my small mouth and thin lips and chubby cheeks, which are not considered such pretty things in the West because like chubby cheeks means that you're fat, and narrow lips like you look like an old person. So I always wanted to have like these full lips and just like look as skinny as possible on my face too, without ever realizing that even when I was at my skinniest, I would always have my cheeks. Again, Western ideals are also making their way to India, so I'm just like a little worried that that's what I'm gonna start seeing so much more here too. As I've told in some of my previous vlogs, one of the things that I most hate about the West is the diet culture there and the like perpetual dieting for women, because you need to be skinny. Either like Victoria's Secret model skinny or these days the like fitness model skinny. It's like if you have even little extra body fat, oh my god, that is so bad. And for me to grow up in such a culture, being a fat kid, oh my god, that was so terrible for my mental health, and that is the biggest reason why I grew up thinking that I was ugly. And I've been told ever since I think I was 5 years old to diet, and I was actually on my first diet when I was probably 9 years old or so, and then I kept always like trying to diet all the time, all the years, and eventually even had an eating disorder. And it was only once I came to India that I was eventually able to completely let go of that kind of like mentality, and now I'm more focused on my well-being and health and just like enjoying food because it's not my enemy. And traditionally in India, the beauty ideal for women's body size is that it's good to be a little bit more plump and have a little bit of like a healthy amount of body fat instead of like being really, really skinny. Again, I'm a bit worried about the like development because I can see these like Western ideals coming into the like big Indian cities, because now there is this like dieting culture already in places like Mumbai and Delhi, which is like really, really sad. But then that's not the case with the like average Indian people, which like to me has been just like such a nice experience, because even when I've been at my skinniest, a bony girl, I have never been told to gain weight in the West, never. But then when I came to India, and for example, I went to a doctor in Visakhapatnam due to some health issues, the doctor told me that, oh my God, you must start like gaining weight, because I was just like looking at you there in the waiting hall and I was just like feeling such pity for you, like poor girl, doesn't she have like enough to eat here in India? And my in-laws are like constantly worried about if I'm eating enough and my weight, because they always keep telling me to just like eat more, eat more, eat more, even though I do eat a lot, and are always asking worriedly like, oh my God, have you lost weight again? Please do have this laddu. Thankfully, I like laddus, so I will not say no. Then the beauty ideal with body hair is like somewhat same between the like two cultures, because in both cultures it's good to have your like legs shaven and all that. But then, confession time, I have never ever had my arms waxed. That's just not a thing in the West, and I was just like so amazed to see all these like salons advertising all their like waxing services here in India. And I think like pretty much all the girls that I know here would be waxing their legs and arms and face. And yep, that was just like so shocking to me to like realize how common that can be in some cultures. And let's not forget about men, because this hair waxing does also go as far as men. And it's just like so weird for me looking at all these like Indian hunks and celebrities in magazines where they might even take their like shirt off, and I'm just looking at their chest like, but where is all that hair? Where did it go? Like, it's so far removed from the reality that it's just like it's, let's just say, not very appealing to me. I don't think there are that many differences between Western men and Indian men. I think that it's pretty much the same for both, like, you know, removing your like extra body hair and being like a gym bro with your abs. But then there is of course that one difference of like skin tone. So Western men tan, Indian men fair, because there is this one product called Fair and Handsome. Oh my God, that sounds like the most ridiculous thing to me. Fair and Lovely, I can still understand to some extent, but Fair and Handsome, I am so lucky to have a husband who couldn't care less about these things. That is the most attractive thing to me. So, for example, men, when you just like let your hair outgrow the trim, and when the beard just like gets like this fluffy thing, and you're getting a little tan from spending all that time outdoors and sweating, doing fun stuff. It's just like, seriously, all that happiness in doing fun things is the most attractive thing. So both girls and boys, remember that. And please do know that you in your natural state are the most beautiful thing ever. And you don't need all these like added things to try to chase an ideal that doesn't even exist, because those people on screens and magazines are also just like all these fake things. They don't really look like that. And one thing that you have taught me is that there is always like negativity and positivity, and you shouldn't focus on what other people think. So remember, there is always someone who will find you unattractive, but there will also always be people who do find you attractive. And I think there is so much beauty in each and every one of us, and we should just like try to appreciate that ourselves and love ourselves. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon again. Mwah. You can see that I barely have any visible brows or eyelashes.